As nurses, we have seen patients suffer at the hands of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and even cancer. Yet we continue to turn a blind eye to what is right in front of us. This video is not controversial, it's not made up, and these are real lives that I am talking about. 1,600 lives to be exact. 1,600 Americans are dying every single day due to chronic food illness. To put it in other words, that's 678,000 Americans every single year dying to chronic food illness. And when I say chronic food illness, I mean things like diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and cancer. I speak to this topic not only for your good, but really with the intent to teach you something new, and then you can take that and teach it to your patients. Did you know that 2/3 of the severe C+ cases that required hospitalization were attributed to these 4 chronic food illnesses? And to put it in other words, these admissions could have been prevented if Americans were not suffering from these chronic food illnesses. Now stick with me. Listen to this study about what is causing these chronic food illnesses. And listen closely, because this is not something we are taught in nursing school. In nursing school, we are taught calories in versus calories out can mean weight gain, right? Well, I'm here to poke some holes in that. Listen up. The NIH did a study to determine why there was such an increase of obesity here in America. Volunteers were asked to eat minimally processed diets and ultra-processed diets. These diets were matched to meet daily nutrients like carbs, sodium, fat, sugar, protein, all of that. The nutrient composition was the same for both diets. So weight gain or weight loss would be the same, right? It's the same amount of calories, same amount of nutrients. So ultra-processed versus minimally processed, it doesn't actually matter, right? Or so they thought. The NIH found that when eating an additional 500 calories of ultra-processed foods, the volunteers began to rapidly gain weight. Now later, when those same volunteers ate the minimally processed foods, but the same exact nutrients, they actually lost weight. Now again, this is not what we were taught in nursing school. Calories in versus calories out could mean weight gain or weight loss, no matter what the source. And that's totally wrong according to this study. As nurses, we are to educate our patients. A lot of that education comes in the form of kind of solidifying what the doctor has already talked about with the patient and giving our patients a further understanding of what they're to do when they go home, right? But most of nutrition education primarily comes from the doctor. It's normally the cardiologist, the PCP, or the hospitalist who is doing the nutrition education. Now, listen up. Let's compare doctors and nurses' education real quick. Doctors only receive about 11 hours, okay, of nutrition education during their entire medicine education career. So education that takes about 10 to 14 years, 11 hours of that is based to nutrition. Something's wrong with this picture. So let's compare that to nurses' education in nutrition. Nurses who go to school for about 2 to 4 years on average have over 100 hours of nutrition education. Make this make sense. And this is why I bring this up. We as nurses have to do the work. We cannot rely on a doctor to educate our patient about an issue like this. Again, 2/3 of the severe C+ cases that were hospitalized could have been prevented if Americans were not suffering with these chronic food illnesses, which is being caused by ultra-processed foods. And we as nurses need to be the ones to warn our patients about that. And that is something we are not taught in school, as this is actually kind of a new study that came out, and I'll put the link in the description down below, but ultra-processed foods, when you get the same nutrients from that versus nutrients from whole foods, let's say, and you equally match that, it's not going to have the same outcome on your body. And this article then goes on to talk about how they think the government needs to step in this issue and do something about ultra-processed foods, but I'm not too sure if I agree with that. I don't know if it's a governmental issue or an individual issue. So let me know what you think. Is this something where the government needs to step in and put more funding to education about nutrition for Americans as a whole. So we're not dealing with chronic food illnesses like obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, because that's a burden on the healthcare system. And this could just keep going on and on and on. I could probably talk about this for an entire hour. So comment down below your thoughts on this topic. But other than that, that is it for today's video, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in next week's video. See ya.